Hey there, guys. I wanted to quickly talk about this sense of meaning and purpose. This is something that's come up a lot for myself and many other people I've talked to, different clients and whatnot. This awareness that there is a lack of meaning and purpose in their life or in my life. I think this is something a lot of people struggle with, if they're aware of it or not. But it's so fundamentally important for growth and for change, because it provides a reason to do stuff. So I've been through and done lots of different psychotherapy and counseling and talking to all sorts of different kinds of therapists for a couple of reasons. One, to help with my own stuff, but also just out of a deep sense of curiosity about how that stuff works. It fascinates me. And one of the things that comes up is there's always these suggestions to do certain things. So you've got this problem, so you should try meditation, and you should try being more mindful, and do this thing, do that thing, try this thing. All these suggestions to do things that can alleviate those troubling emotions and feelings. But I've always found, like, yeah, okay, I get that, I agree with that, I can conceptualize and see, yeah, that makes sense, why you would suggest that, and I even agree that it would probably help, yet there's no motivation, or very little motivation, to actually do those things and do them consistently. And one of the big reasons for me anyway is because there's a lack of purpose, or lack of meaning, or something to stand behind. Because when one has something that they get up every day and they're excited to contribute to and have meaning and have purpose behind, then there's a motivation to better oneself and to keep oneself in a coherent working state, with a good balanced state of mind and a good working body, because it's actually now valuable to have that thing. Because it's going to serve that meaning and purpose that you genuinely find yourself involved in. So developing and finding that meaning, finding the purpose, what am I driven to contribute to or want to be part of, is a huge player in actually wanting and having the discipline to do these self-development, self-care practices. Because now there's a value for it. Now there is an actual felt sense of, I want to do this because it's going to benefit me in doing my purpose, in doing my meaning, in actually working towards that thing that I actually really want and I'm motivated to work towards. Obviously, finding meaning and purpose is not an easy thing to do, and a lot of us are lacking it for that reason. But it's certainly a big part of doing things that are for the benefit of self. Because the motivation of, you should do this because if you don't, A, B, and C could happen, this sort of fear-based version of, if you don't do these, then you're going to have issues. It's been proven to be a very poor sense of motivation. They've had people who've been on chemotherapy, and they've had them doing regular exercise while going through that, and they find that it helped them recover better. It helped them with their mental state around going through chemotherapy, and helped them get through that. But what I also know is that it actually helps them stay out of going back into remission and redeveloping disease. And they told everybody who was on that chemotherapy trial with exercise, that have now been cured of their cancer, and now they're cancer free. But they tell them that if you continue to do this exercise that's helped you so much, then you're far less likely to go back into having cancer. And they all agree, and like, yes, that sounds great. I mean, I feel so great doing it already. Like, it's helped me so much. I agree. That's a great idea. When they went back and asked them how many of you have continued to do your exercise, I think it was, I have to go back and check, but I think it was like literally zero, or pretty much nobody had continued to do the exercise, even though they agreed that it was going to help, because the motivation was, if you do this exercise, you're less likely to go back into remission. So the point there is that the motivation of, if you do this, A, B, and C won't happen or are less likely to happen, just isn't a good motivation. And we see this everywhere. Like, we all know we should be doing certain things if we want certain things, but we seem to not actually have the motivation to do them. We know we should do them, but we don't feel like we want to. And there's this inner conflict with that. It's this inner conflict of the shoulds and how I actually feel. And having that sense of purpose and meaning, where you need to be operating at a higher level, need to be operating at a more coherent level to show up to that meaning, to show up to that purpose in a more helpful and positive way. Doing self-care helps that, so that then all of a sudden now there is a value. Now I do want to do these things. Now I have a value around those things. So yeah, meaning, purpose, everything around that gives us so much motivation to actually help ourselves, because there's something to help. There's a value in being a working, coherent person, in having that meaning and having that purpose.